Good evening, respected ones. One more question paper discussion is going to be happening here. This time I want to give you some hints on the question paper, on the answers of the questions of the question paper of the paper Contemporary India and Education for the examination of November 2017. We have already discussed question paper for the years 2019 and 18. I mean 2-mark questions and paragraph questions included in the above mentioned both question papers. Now I am going to give you the answers of the questions included in the question paper for the examination of 2017. First question for the 2 marks. What is the rationale behind multilingual education? See, here the question is not what is multilingual education, but the question is the rationale or the logic behind multilingual education. So you can just write the rationale behind multilingual education is that a person can learn a second language effectively and usefully only after becoming an expert user of his own mother tongue. Because learning a language requires logical thinking and reasoning power. According to Piaget, a person's logical thinking starts only after 10 years or 11 years. This also proves the argument put forth by the concept of multilingual education. What are the specific objectives of KANFED? You just look at the expansion of KANFED, Kerala Association for Non-Formal Education and Development. It was formed just because of the fact that most of the people during those times in Kerala were illiterate. So you don't need to mention all these things, you can just write this one. The specific objectives of KANFED are: 1. To provide literacy to all those who haven't got any education during their childhood days. Second one, to provide continuing education to those who have completed their primary literacy education. 3. To provide learning materials for those who are attending literacy programs. 4. To provide or to organize special literacy programs for some rural areas which are showing some pathetic condition in the case of literacy. So by writing 4 points you can get 2 marks. Give a brief account of RUSA. RUSA is Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan. Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan. It means National Higher Educational Mission. Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan. So you can just answer this question just like this. RUSA, Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan, was launched in 2013 by the second UPA government. The major objectives of RUSA are to make funding to higher educational institutions more accurate by verifying that funds are utilized in the proper manner, to provide financial aids to self-financing institutions also if they show some quality in the case of standard of education, to create some model colleges so that to give some demonstration classes and such things to other colleges for increasing their quality as well, and to enhance the quality of higher educational institutions by providing proper guidelines and directions. The fourth question is define cultural pluralism. So when you write this, the answer for this question, you should be careful. We feel that cultural pluralism is a society where different people who belong to different cultural entities. That is not the right answer, because you should mention the majority and minority, and you should mention the rights of the minority. So just look here and see. This can be the accurate answer for this question. Cultural pluralism is the state of a society where minority groups are enjoying their rights to follow their own religious beliefs, customs, rituals, and cultural activities, and the majority groups of that society accept some elements of the cultural aspects of the minorities. Now, this is the correct answer. You should mention 2 points. One is the minority groups are enjoying their rights. That the majority groups are not violating the rights of the minority groups. And at the same time, majority group is ready to accept the virtues of the culture of the minority. You should mention these 2 points. So you can just tell in your own language. You can just tell if you want to change the words, but the concept should be there. So you can just write cultural pluralism is a state of society where majority groups are not violating the rights of the minority groups, and they are ready to accept the positive elements of or some elements of the cultural aspects of the minorities. Okay? You can make use of your own words, but these 2 points should be there when you answer this question. Question number 5. What is ensured by Article 31? or the first clause of Article 30 of the Constitution of India. Article 30, Clause 1 of the Constitution of India ensures the right of the minorities based on religion or language to establish their own to establish and run their own educational institutions, so that to create more opportunities, more educational opportunities for the members of such minority groups. Describe social constructivism. And see, when you write about social constructivism, you should mention the name of Vygotsky. So when you are asked to write about culture of silence, then you should mention name of Paulo Freire. Whatever concept you are asked, you should mention the name of the person who introduced that concept for making the answer more accurate and strong. So here, describe social constructivism. Describe is there, but don't try to describe, because this is a question for 2 marks. You should keep that point in your mind. Describe social constructivism. Social constructivism is a modern pedagogy or methodology introduced by Vygotsky. According to this concept of teaching, a learner can learn something only when he is constructing new pieces of knowledge through some social and cultural interaction. Social constructivism. This is not individual constructivism. And individual constructivism is something related to discovery learning put forth by Jerome Spooner. If here learner constructs knowledge, but with the help of some other people, some more knowledgeable others, MKOs. So there is interaction with others. By interacting with others, he constructs knowledge. So this is a short answer question. So you can just write the answer in 2 sentences, as I told. Social constructivism is a modern concept of teaching or modern strategy in teaching, where a learner learns something by constructing new pieces of knowledge through the social and cultural interaction with others. Briefly describe the concept of deschooling. Deschooling is a movement introduced all over the world by people like Ivan Illich. Deschooling is the process of withdrawing children from schools, telling that formal schools are not providing any opportunity for enhancing the creativity of children and for acquiring practical knowledge. So withdrawing students from schools. That means withdrawing students from formal schooling systems. And they advocate that there should be a reconstruction of school system, and school system should provide practical knowledge and creative thinking. So you don't need to explain all these things, because this is for 2 marks. So you can just write what I taught. Deschooling movement is a concept put forth by people like Ivan Illich all over the world. This is a movement of withdrawing children from schools, telling that formal schooling systems are not providing any opportunity for children to enhance their creativity and to acquire practical knowledge. Evaluate the functions of a culturally responsive pedagogy. First, you should know a culturally responsive pedagogy. A culturally responsive pedagogy is a methodology or a teaching method used by a teacher in a diversified classroom by giving due regard to the cultural elements of each student of that classroom. So we can look at the functions. The functions of culturally responsive pedagogy are: first one, to give due regard to all the different cultural aspects that different students of a classroom represent. 2, introduce the culture of some students of the classroom to others as well. To create or to make the students able to live together by giving and accepting the cultural elements of each other. To ensure that each and every student of the classroom has got a thorough idea on whatever taught inside the classroom. 4 points, 2 marks. Right? Name any 2 non-governmental organizations in Kerala for educational developments. You can write any 2 names. There are different organizations. There is Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad, then KANFED, then CG, then there is Trend, there is YMCA. So you can write any 2 organizations which are working for the educational developments. And comment on pressure exerted by community on education. So you have to comment. All of us feel that there is something negative, yeah, because when communities are imposing some pressure on governments, then some people are getting more chances, some other groups are not getting anything, yeah, right? So you can just comment. The pressure exerted by community on education has been there in India for a number of years. It is a fact that the religion to which the rulers belong gets all the sorts of financial aids and support by the government. This will be creating a sort of inequality in the society, because some sections of the society are always neglected and ignored in the case of educational support and aids. So the 2 mark questions are over. Now we are entering to the paragraph questions. Question number 11. Give an account of education for nation building. I have already discussed this question, the answer of this question in the previous question paper discussion. I think maybe in 2009 question paper discussion, 19 question paper discussion, or in 2018 question paper discussion. I think you can, I feel that you will see that video if you haven't yet seen. Question number 12, explain the functions of SSA and RMSA. So these are two schemes introduced by different governments, and just for ensuring universal elementary education. So let's look. When we got independence, there was a huge gap between two sections of the society in the case of education. So itself, our constitution declared so many articles for ensuring free and compulsory education for all the children. And in 2002, through an amendment, through a constitutional amendment, education became a fundamental right as well. And for the realization of the concept of education for all, different governments declared different policies during different eras. SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, are two major schemes among such schemes declared by different governments. SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, was a flagship program declared by the then Vajpayee government in 2001. The major functions of SSA were ensure that all the children between all the children are at school by 2005. That to ensure complete admission. I mean, to ensure that all the children in India have got admitted in primary school. Another function of SSA was to ensure that all the children complete the first stage of primary education by 2008. So it tells about the to avoid, or it was aiming to avoid wastage and stagnation. That means preventing students from discontinuing their education after 1 or 2 years. And the third function of SSA was to ensure that all the children would complete elementary education by 2010. Some other functions were also there. Another major function of SSA was to take special measures for providing education to girl children who belong to economically and socially backward communities and who are coming from educationally backward areas. Just think about such girl children. They are girl children. That means already marginalized. And they are coming from economically and socially backward communities. And they live at educationally backward areas. Then what will be their status? So government declared that as a part of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, they will cure, or it will give special attention to the educational programs provided to such girl children. SSA also declared another thing as its function, that is to provide funds to build more classrooms, more toilets and more facilities for extracurricular activities. Now let's come to RMSA. RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, had been a program for enhancing the secondary educational system in Assam. It was a successful scheme and later it was made a national program. It was intended to enhance the quality of secondary education, that is high school education. RMSA was a scheme which was providing fund for building more high schools, adding more classrooms to existing high schools, providing and building advanced laboratories in all the high schools, building or expanding the libraries of the high schools, and giving in-service trainings to high school teachers to enhance the quality of high school education. So it was concentrating on high school education because high school education is the stage where you have to create some base for higher secondary education and higher education. So you should give some base for, you should create some scientific attitude and temper in the students so that to make them interested in scientific activities and researchers in future. So it was a program intended for enhancing the quality of secondary education, that is high school education. This is enough for the paragraph. Evaluate the role of mother tongue in primary education, and this is a general question and I think you can answer this question easily if you have got some common sense. Role of mother tongue in primary education. See, you can just start like this one. Start like this. According to UNESCO, the major pillars of education are learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. The first pillar of education is learning to know. Learning to know means to make the students able to learn more things even without the assistance of teachers and others. A teacher can teach only a few theories and principles included in the syllabus. Students should be capable of learning new theories and principles by using the presently learned principles and theories. For that, teachers should make use of a sort of discussion strategy inside the classroom. Teachers should make them share their experience, and through the sharing of their experience and examples from their life, teachers should teach different principles and theories. And for sharing their experience openly, students should be given freedom to select their own mother tongue. And another thing is that one of the most important function of education, according to Gandhiji, is to bring the best in man and child. So you have to find out the best in man and child. You can find out the best in man and child only by allowing them to express their own views and visions. If you force them to speak in English language or in any other language, they will not be able to express their views and visions as natural as they do in their mother tongue. So let them express their views in their own mother tongue. And according to Paulo Freire, in the traditional formal educational system, students are forced to keep culture of silence because they are forced to listen whatever told by the teachers, who see students as empty bank accounts. And Paulo Freire advocated that instead of seeing them empty bank accounts, we should see them just like grown-up people who have got some ideas, visions, views, and concepts about the contemporary issues. And we should present the contemporary issues before them to let them think about these contemporary issues and to present some solutions for such contemporary issues. If you want to make them think about the contemporary issues in a critical manner and discuss the problem among their peers, you should let them use mother tongue. Moreover, according to the psychologists such as Piaget, logical thinking starts after 10 years or 11 years. Before that, you should allow the students to learn, discuss, and express in their own mother tongue. Let them develop their logical power and reasoning capacity by using their mother tongue first. Then you can tell them to use other languages. So this is enough for the paragraph question. Yeah. Write a paragraph on the educational contributions of Paulo Freire in Paulo Freire. Paulo Freire is one of the greatest educational philosophers who have contributed much to modern educational system. He viewed that the traditional formal educational system sees students as empty bank accounts and the teachers as the depositors who have to deposit each and every piece of knowledge into the empty bank account called students. He ridiculed this tendency by calling it banking concept of education. And Paulo Freire told that the students who are forced to keep silence without getting any opportunity for expressing their views inside the classroom are keeping culture of silence. And this culture of silence will make them keep silence even when they are watching some social injustice when they become grown-up people in future. So he wrote a book called Pedagogy of Oppressed. He told that students who are forced to keep silence without getting an opportunity for expressing their views are oppressed ones inside the classrooms. They are mentally oppressed by the teachers. And he introduced a new pedagogy called critical pedagogy. He told that instead of seeing them empty bank accounts, you should see them just as grown-up people who have got feelings, views, concepts, ideas and visions. So you have to present the contemporary issues before them and let them think critically about the contemporary issues and they can give you some solutions. This is called critical pedagogy. It's also known as problem posing education because teachers would be presenting some problems before the students. And by getting influence from this critical pedagogy, nowadays we are using issue-based curriculum or issue-based pedagogy. So he was working for some learner-centered pedagogy. His critical pedagogy and his concept that we should see children as grown-up people were some revolutionary thoughts during those days. So these are some contributions of Paulo Freire to modern educational systems. Explain the strategies to attain harmonious living in a diversified society. So social diversity is there. In a diversified society, you can see social diversity, different types of social diversity. There may be religious diversity, cultural diversity, linguistic diversity, economic diversity, individual diversity, geographical diversity, racial diversity, physical diversity, and some other levels of diversity. Diversity becomes positive only when different people who belong to different religions, different linguistic backgrounds and different cultural backgrounds live together with mutual respect and mutual understanding. It is called harmonious living in a diversified society. We can make use of different strategies for ensuring harmonious living in a diversified society. First of all, we have to give education to people who belong to different cultural, religious and linguistic groups together. Then it will give them an opportunity to understand each other. Similarly, in the classroom, the teacher should make use of culturally responsive pedagogy. Teachers should give due regard to the cultural aspects of each and every student of the classroom. Whenever the teacher explains different things inside the classroom, he or she should be careful enough to make use of different dialects of different students. And this will make other students also feel that the dialects taught by their friends are something good and the dialects are also acceptable. And in educational institutions, authorities should be careful to organize different cultural or careful to include the art forms and cultural forms of different communities to which the students of the particular institution belong. This will be facilitating other students also as some opportunities to know about different cultural and art forms of the society. And similarly, in educational institutions, the basic principles of all the religions should be taught. And this was a recommendation of S. Radhakrishnan Commission of 1948. He recommended that the basic principles of all the religions should be taught to all the students at schools. Then Hindus can know about Islam, Muslims can know about Hinduism and Christianity, Christians can know about Islam and Hinduism, and so all the people will realize that no religion is propagating any sort of hatred, and all the religions are propagating fraternity. So these strategies can be used for attaining harmonious living in a diversified society. So I'm just stop here. I just stop here, and I feel that the remaining paragraph questions can be explained in another video, because now the time is 8:54. I have to leave the campus now because my vehicle has come there to fetch me to my home. So we can meet